Good morning on this very chilly Tuesday morning. At least here where I'm at in Mansfield, Ohio, it is incredibly cold this morning. I hope wherever you are, it's warmer than here. Let's pick up our Bible study in Matthew, looking at chapter 1, beginning in verse 18. Now, the birth of Jesus Christ took place in this way. When his mother, Mary, had been betrothed to Joseph, before they came together, she was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit. And her husband, Joseph, being a just man and unwilling to put her to shame, resolved to divorce her quietly. But as he considered these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, saying, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to take Mary as your wife, for that which is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. Now, up until now, we have been looking at Matthew's treatment of Jesus as being rightfully the king. If you remember, we went all the way down through the genealogy or the Genesis account of Jesus, and we saw the father of, the father of, the father of, the father of, until we got to Joseph, when we see Joseph being the husband of Mary, who gave birth to Jesus. So now Matthew is taking the next step. He's saying, let me explain to you exactly how this came about. Remember, Matthew is writing to an audience that already knows that Jesus has died. They believe that Jesus has rose again, and they are worshiping Jesus. And Matthew is saying, let me tell you how this began. Now, there are some key words in here about the birth of Jesus. First of all, it says, when his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph. This word betrothed is very important to us because it's very different than our understanding of betrothal in the 21st century of America. Today, we get engaged to be married to someone, and we call that a betrothal. But it's not actually a marriage. We're not actually considered to be wedded until the marriage itself. But this wasn't entirely the case in Jesus' day. When Joseph and Mary were betrothed, while they hadn't actually had the wedding ceremony yet, and they did not have sexual relations with one another, they were, in many respects, already considered to be married. And in fact, to break off this betrothal was no light thing. As we see here, it required actually to get a divorce in order to break the betrothal. Also, just to give you some sense of the history of this and the significance of a betrothal, in Genesis 29:21, we read about Jacob going to Laban, both his boss and his father-in-law, saying this, give me my wife that I may go into her, for my time is completed. In other words, he had worked for his wife. It was already acknowledged that this was his wife, and yet he had not yet actually been married. He was simply betrothed. And the penalty for a woman to be with another man was very significant if she was considered to be betrothed. Deuteronomy 22:23 and 24 tell us that if there is a betrothed virgin and she has sex with another man, that it would be okay to stone her and the other man to death because it was considered to be adultery. So this was no small matter for Mary to be found to be pregnant. Now, we see she's betrothed to Joseph, and Matthew makes very clear in verse 18 that this was before they came together, meaning this is before they had any kind of relationship physically with one another, but yet she was found to be with child. This word really means that she was discovered to be with child. In other words, it got to a point where Mary simply couldn't hide it anymore. We don't know exactly how Mary might have communicated this to Joseph, but it appears from reading Matthew that it just got to a point where she grew so large that it was obvious to everyone, and finally to Joseph, that his betrothed, to be married wife was pregnant, and he knew that he was not the father. Now, we see something of the character of Joseph here, because we're told that he's a just man, that he was unwilling to put her to shame. In other words, he had every right to take Mary outside and have her be stoned. Certainly had every right to simply say, hey, this is not my child, so put the shame upon her. No, he was simply going to, we see, divorce her quietly. But we see something else in Joseph that is something that I think we could all benefit from, and it's something that we just kind of go over quickly when we read this, and that is that he was considering these things. And as he was considering these things, this is when the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream. Now we're going to talk more about this and how the angel appeared to him and what the significance of that is, both to Joseph and to us tomorrow. But I want you to consider that this story of Jesus' birth is very significant for us, because this was a very traumatic time both for Joseph and Mary. So as we enter into this Christmas season and we think about the scene at Bethlehem, maybe today you could just go back a few frames in the movie and think what it might have been like to be Joseph. Think of what it might have been like to discover your precious betrothed to be pregnant. What would you have thought? What would you likely have done? We'll stop there today. I hope to see you again tomorrow morning. Have a great day today.